Hola.
Welcome, welcome.
Can you tell the
Oh,
moderator
there we
lady
go.
was here?
All right. Welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 29th. I've got my original sound on, and I have some nice suggestions that I'm implementing tonight. I'm going to try a second camera that's closer to my hands so you can see what I'm doing. I know, it's exciting, and it was not as hard as I thought, I think. I hope. I think it was working earlier, so hopefully that's gonna be a thing. If you're joining us later, watching this later, just a reminder that you can support my work by going to my Ko-fi page, which will be in the description below. And if you're here live, I can ask Mary. Do you have that link, Mary? No?
I will get
You do.
that.
Okay, great. Right. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone here. Welcome Joyce. Welcome Mary. Welcome Davy. Welcome Candace. Welcome Katie. I'm really excited to be connecting with Davy a little later in the summer. He builds harps, and we're going to look at one of his harps that he's working on. So I'm excited about that. And tonight we're going in a slightly different direction. This was oh, and let me make myself bigger. There we go. Boop. All right. So tonight we're going in a slightly different direction than we've been going the last few weeks, months. I want to talk philosophically tonight about improvisation and playing the harp in general and practicing and so forth. So if you got the email, the newsletter tonight is called The Art of Forgetting. Art of Forgetting. And as we get older, maybe it's just something we do really well. But there is a method to my madness here. So the art of forgetting has a lot to do with improvisation, and how I came across this is back when I was in Denver over spring break. I was walking around the neighborhood where my friends live, and there are lots of little libraries. Do you guys know what that is? Little libraries. People build these little boxes that look like birdhouses and stick them out in front of their house, and then they put books in. You can take one, leave one, something like that. And in this little library in the neighborhood, I found this book called The Art of Learning. I'd never heard of it. Sounded like an interesting title, and I started reading it. And Josh Waitskin. Josh Waitskin. Well, if you know anything about chess, heard of this guy. I don't. I hadn't, but he's a chess master, and he became a chess master at a very early age, and then later became a Tai Chi master. And his book is his story about how he um, how he started learning. So I actually have only read the introduction and the very beginning of the book, but in the introduction, he kind of gives away the whole idea that he's going to discuss in the rest of the book. And the ideas are things that I put it uh, in my email out to you guys. But he talked about two things. He talked about internalizing knowledge, and he talks about the art of forgetting. So I want to talk about those things in terms of harp and playing improvisationally particularly. He talks about how he did it in chess. I really resonated with the story because he probably is a reincarnated chess master. He doesn't really remember learning chess specifically, like he always sort of knew how to do it. And then later, after he became a chess champion, people said, "Oh, will you teach me how to play?" And he had to sit back and kind of deconstruct how he learned himself and how he could break it into chunks that he could teach to other people. And that has been my experience with the harp, that I seem to know things and I don't know how I know them sometimes. I will chalk it up to the fact that I grew up with a very musical family, so music education and music um, making was a part of my childhood and a part of my family. My grandmother was a church organist and a pianist. My parents were singers. My sister and brother are both professional musicians. The whole family were Welsh. We can't shut up about the singing. So like Christmas at my grandmother's was everybody gathering around the piano and she would play and we would all sing in these amazing harmonies. So I grew up with this. And then when I was introduced to chord theory and the Nashville numbering system, which I'll talk about specifically in a minute because I had a question about that over the last week, all of a sudden, everything that I've been doing kind of intuitively now had some structure to it that I could teach to other people and could share with other people. So now I'm in the process myself of learning how I learned this so that I can then pass that knowledge onto you guys. That's my goal. And every time I think, oh, I've got it, then I peel back another layer and I'm like, oh, wait, there's more. There's always more. So there's always more, which is really great. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking about the art of forgetting for just a second and talk about the Nashville numbering system, because this is how I talk about the harp, the numbers, the strings, the chords, and so forth, and is different from traditional classical music theory. So if you have had traditional classical music theory, and I'm talking to a lot of people who are watching this later as well, this is a different system. They are talking about the same things, but they talk about them in a different way. So Nashville numbering system gives each string a number, each chord a number, and those strings and numbers do not change in the way that we talk about them. In traditional classical music theory, each string has a number depending on what mode you're in. So for example, if I'm playing in the Ionian mode, C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, so forth. That's the way I talk about it all the time. But in the classical numbering system, if you're playing in the Dorian mode and you're starting on the D, then D is 1, E is 2, F is 3, and so forth. So if you grew up with that or went to school for that and understand it that way, just let me know and I can translate into the classical numbering system for you. They're not contradictory. They're just like French and German. They're just different languages that are describing the same beautiful pasture with a cow in it. So, so I use the Nashville numbering system, which is what jazz players use, and that's where I came from. Was from jazz and pop and that kind of thing. So that's those are the numbers.
Are you saying Nashville, like
Nashville,
Nashville,
like the town,
like the
Nashville,
town?
Tennessee.
Thank you. I wrote that down, but I
Yep,
wasn't.
Nashville numbering system. Yep, yep. I also learned this through the International Harp Therapy Program, although she didn't call it that. She used the same numbers to describe the chords and the chord relationships. So if you have questions about that, definitely raise your hand, or if you're watching this later and you have questions about that, if you're confused, like, what is she talking about, those numbers, just send me a note. I'm happy to explain what I'm doing. Okay, so let's go back to the art of forgetting. And before we can get to the art of forgetting, we have to get to internalizing the information. And this is where the other quote that I put in the newsletter comes from Charlie Parker, who's close to my heart. He says, first you learn the instrument, then you learn the music, then you forget all that shit, and you just play. And that brings me to the just play part. Because so many people come to me, and you hear this in workshops also, I just want to sit down and play. Why can't I just sit down and play? And so I want to answer that question about why, first of all, why most people can't just sit down and play, and then secondly, how do you just sit down and play? So the reason most people can't sit down and play is because they haven't internalized the knowledge and then forgotten it. And they don't probably even know to do that. They want to sit down and just have music just pour out of them. We all want that. We all want to be able to sit down and just have music pour out of us. But to do that, there's a whole bunch of preparation that has to happen to get ready to do that. It'd be like walking into your kitchen and saying, I just want to cook something. Well, if you haven't spent time learning about your knives and learning about your spices and learning about your all your what's in your pantry and what's in your fridge and then how that stuff all goes together, and you haven't practiced that a lot, you didn't have a grandmother who showed you how to do that, or you didn't read Joy of Cooking, you just show up in the kitchen and go, I just want to make something. You know, my sister and I used to do that when we were little, and we came up with disasters usually. There was a cheese thing that we never got unstuck from the pot. So that's not the way to do it. I mean, you can experiment around with it, but it's, 100 monkeys all typing on a typewriter, probably not ever going to make Shakespeare. So how do you create that? I keep talking about the kitchen because I'm writing this book slowly that I'm calling the cookbook, which has recipes for improvisation. And the beginning of the cookbook, I talk about knowing your pantry, and this is what Charlie Parker is talking about: know your instrument, know your music. So let's talk about knowing your instrument for a second. So everybody's got a harp. Some of us have lots of them. I would encourage you to spend some time, which maybe you've never done, looking up and reading about your harp. And if you have questions about how harps are made, we have an expert here in the group, Davey, makes harps. And he can talk about how they're made, how your harp is made perhaps, and what makes them so interesting, what makes them unique from other stringed instruments, other plucked instruments. Like, go and do some reading about the history of the harp. And I have a challenge for you. The challenge for you is to find the origins of the harp. Find the origins of the harp. I keep thinking there should be a god or goddess of the harp, like in our mythology somewhere. I have not found him or her. They all seem to have one. All the gods and goddesses seem to have like a lute or a lyre or something, but who is the god or goddess of the harp? I have not found that person yet. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough. But I sure would like to know where harps come from. They're ancient. They're one of the oldest instruments we have. But understanding that is part of internalizing the knowledge, the first step, just sitting down and playing. Like, how does this creature actually work? How do these strings work? How does the soundboard work? How does the neck work? How do the levers work? If you have a pedal harp, how do the discs work? How do the pedals work? There are some really nice videos made by Lyon and Healy that give you tours of their factory, so you can see how they make the harps. It's really cool. And maybe go visit Davey in Kentucky and watch him in his shop, learn how he makes harps. But understanding at a fundamental level how the instrument works is really super helpful. So let me share a few things I know about this harp. Your harp will be similar, but there will also be differences. So this is a fancy harp. This is the Salvi Egan electroacoustic harp. It's one of the very first ones, the first electroacoustic harps they made. So let's start with the word Salvi. Salvi is an Italian maker in Italy, obviously Italian. But if you go and read about them, they merged with Lyon and Healy, so they're actually the same company now. And that happened in the not too distant past. I would have to go look up dates. I don't know if that was in the 70s or the 90s, but recently, relatively speaking, Salvi joined with Lyon and Healy. And then Egan, let's see if you can see this up here. This is the little logo on it that says Egan. And I was like, oh, for years and years and years, like, oh, Egan, okay, great. Well, Egan is a name. John Egan was a harp maker, an Irish harp maker, and I actually saw one of his harps in the Musical Instrument Museum in Scottsdale, Arizona when I went down last year. Highly recommend this museum. Highly recommend this museum. But the thing that was characteristic about John Egan was that his harps have a curved pillar. They have this rounded, curved pillar. And his harps were never this large. He built lap harps. They were much smaller. But when Salvi built this one, kind of took his design and made it, just stretched it out and made it bigger, like proportionally bigger. So it's got this curved pillar to it. I got to be honest with you. I have short arms. This harp is a little awkward for me. I wish it were a little more compact. It's kind of stretched out in a kind of equilateral triangle, and that makes it a little awkward for me to play, but I make it work. Okay. I said it was electroacoustic, so now I'm going to put on my other camera. I'm going to test my other camera here. And see, is it going to go? Yes! Yay! I know, yay! You can see when I play now, you'll be able to see my hands up close. But for now, what I want you to look at is these things. These are little brass pins or plates on each string, and these are pickups. These are electroacoustic pickups. So like on a guitar, an electric guitar has pickups. This harp has a pickup on every string. Some electroacoustic harps have pickups that are installed inside in the soundboard, and they're strips that are like this long, and they're stuck inside. And they pick up the whole soundboard, which is not my favorite sound, to be honest. This picks up every single string, and it's crystal clear, and I use them. This is my recording harp. I absolutely love this harp for that reason. I'm going to see if I can show you inside this harp, just because we're talking about knowing your harp. Yes, I can. Okay. Inside, in here, on the back of those pickups is one of these things for each one. This is a electronic soundboard here, and the strip runs all the way down inside the harp, and it goes down to the bottom of the harp, and there it plugs into a regular electric guitar cable. I'm going to go back to my other screen, see if I can bounce back here. Yep. You would recognize it looks like this. And this just plugs into the back of the harp. And then I bought this harp because I lived out in the country in Hawaii, and I thought it was going to be quiet. And it turned out that I live near tractors and airplanes and dogs barking and cows mooing and all kinds of things. And every time I tried to record on my other harps, I couldn't do it. So I bought this one because it bypasses everything, and it's just the harp. So makes changing a string a bit more complicated? Not really. You'd think it would, but it's very similar. It's not harder. The first couple times you do it, you're just carefully threading through, but yeah, it's really not that big a deal. It's got a full set of levers on here. These are the Salvi levers. I really like them. And then this harp has three different types of strings on it. So this is something else that you want to pay attention to in your own harp as you're internalizing your knowledge of the harp so that you can learn your instrument and then forget it. So the upper part of the harp here are nylon strings. The middle part are gut strings, and the bottom part are bass wires. And in your own harp, you want to see like what kind of strings do you have, because each string has a different sound. The wires have a wiry sound to them, as they should. These are the gut strings. And I have to tell you that this is what sold me on the harp initially. I thought I was playing better. It was so yummy. And when you get up here, let's start here. The sound, frankly, is kind of plasticky because they're plastic. They're nylon strings. But we can't make them out, well, we can. You can make the upper strings out of gut, but they break like almost immediately. They just don't hold up. When they get that thin, the material wants to fray and come apart really easily. So I do have gut strings. Lion and Healy and Salvi make gut strings for the upper end of this harp, but I have tried and have just settled with um, nylon strings up there. So I want you to know your harp the same way. What kind of wood is your harp made out of? Did you know that different woods sound different? Well, I learned when I was doing my international harp therapy program training that cherry wood, it has the warmest sound to it for healing. So a lot of healing harpists favor cherry wood harps for that reason. This is maple and painted in a black, painted with black paint, and then the soundboard is Sitka spruce, which is very difficult to get. I'm sure Davey can tell you that. It's the Sitka trees have been harvested. Sitka is in Alaska. The trees are great for soundboards because they grow very slowly. Their rings are really close together and they make really dense wood, which makes a beautiful sound, but they've been mostly harvested and it's very difficult to find them now because we've used them up. So that's kind of, I mean, I could say a lot more about the harp, but I would like you to do the same kind of investigation of your own harp. Because when you get to improvising, you get to the point of improvising and you're thinking, oh, I want a bass sound. I want a bass wire sound in the harp. You know where to go on your harp. If you want something warm and buttery on this harp, like right in the middle. If I want something, I actually might want something kind of thin and sparkly on the top. I know where to go on the harp to get that. Okay, so know your instrument. And you might have several harps, so you might go do this exploration on all your harps. I encourage you to do that, and know if the maker's still alive, go talk to them. They love to talk. They'll tell you all kinds of stuff. If you have a harp that the maker's still around, go talk to them. It's a really good idea. Okay, so then the next part, sit down and play, is okay. Have your harp ready to go. Don't have it tucked in a corner somewhere collecting dust. Have it sitting out with your bench at it so that you can walk up and just sit down and play. Make it very easy and accessible if you have the room in your place to do that. You want to spend some time thinking about your posture. We haven't talked about this much lately, but I will tell you that I had a very serious back injury about, I think it was in 2013 or 2014. That was from sitting incorrectly at the harp. So I learned to play from a teacher. Mostly my first teacher was online, and she couldn't see my feet and couldn't see my hips, and we were all new to online learning, and so it didn't even occur to us to talk about posture at the harp. But it was this harp that I was playing, and like I said, it's a little large for me. So I ended up not knowing that I was twisting this way rather than sitting straight at the harp. I was twisting to try to reach the bass wires. And what happened then was my hips were twisted, my spine was twisted, and I had the weight of the harp on my shoulder. And over the years of sitting like that, it compressed the discs in my low back in a twisted kind of way. I know, really painful. It took me about 18 months of physical therapy to get that all straightened out, and now I know to tell all my online students, sit at the harp correctly. So what does correctly mean? So the back of my harp is rounded, but if your back of your harp is square, it's even easier that you have a bench that's flat. This is really important. If you're sitting in a chair, chairs are designed to tip you back. So you're relaxing back into the backrest. But to sit at the harp, you actually want to be kind of engaging with the harp. And so you'd be fighting a chair. If you sit forward on a chair that's tipping you back, it might cut off the circulation to your legs. It's all kinds of things. Just make it hard. It just makes it harder. So pick a piano bench or a harp bench or some kind of bench that's flat. If your bench has a straight edge front, you can line up the straight edge front of the bench to the straight edge of the back of the harp so that they are parallel to each other. And then you bring the harp back to you comfortably, and comfortably means you experiment a lot. So I'll give you several different options that I've heard from several different teachers. So Don, who used to work at Kalasny in Denver, talked a lot about the harp, that the harp would come back, and this is Celtic harp and pedal harp both, will rest lightly on your right knee. So that part of the pressure is on the knee and part of the pressure is on the shoulder. That the entire weight is not on the shoulder. And that really helped me with the low back thing, because I didn't have all the pressure. The other thing that's nice about having it rest on your knee is you can have it entirely resting on your knee and your whole body is free to move here. And that makes it much easier if you're playing up high and you need to be able to see what you're doing up high, rather than having it rest on your shoulder and trying to get in here like that. But again, you've got to experiment. Your heart might be smaller, and this isn't going to work. You might need to, to try some different things. You want to try being at different heights in your bench. Ideally, your legs are at a 45-degree angle, so your thighs are straight out and your shins are straight down, and your feet are flat on the floor. So I'm guilty of wrapping my feet around chair legs and twiddling my toes and all kinds of stuff, because those are just bad habits that I've had from sitting in other places. So I'm always getting myself grounded with your weight partially on your feet, partially on your bottom. The same. I recommend the same for piano. So that way you're square to the harp. You're not twisting. I'm exaggerating a lot here, but you're not twisting to the harp. You may find that you want to turn the harp a little bit. I'm like overturning it so you can see. But you may want to turn it a little bit. This is something else Don recommends, not from Kalasny. Don, I'll think of his last name in a second. Wonderful guy. Because you want to be able to see what you're doing. But there's a cost to this, which makes it that it's harder to reach around with your right hand. There's a price that you pay for that. So, but it may be more comfortable for you to do that. You want to have it, last thing I'll say about this is each harp has a pivot point on it, which you probably intuitively know about. When you tip the harp back, there's a place where it falls forward. And then once you get past that pivot point, there's a point where it falls backwards. And you want to have it back towards you just enough that it's resting lightly on your leg or shoulder. And it's not going to fly away from you as you're playing it. But it's not so heavy that it's pressing down on you. Again, just protecting yourself from shoulder and low back injuries that way. Okay. So far, so good? It's a lot, right? Who knew? But all of this is backdrop, that once you know this stuff and you've internalized it, then it becomes part of your playing. It becomes part of the improvisation. So another way I think about it is I always wanted to paint. I wanted to just sit down and paint. And so I bought some paints and I bought some brushes and I got some paper and I sat down and I tried to just paint. It wasn't satisfying because I wasn't coming out with pictures like I wanted. So I did the same thing. This was a while ago, several years ago, but I was like, okay, I'm going to stop, slow down. I'm going to learn how paints are made. Like, what minerals go into a cerulean blue? What minerals go into an ultramarine blue? I spent the time to learn all of that stuff and learn how to make brushes and learn how paper is made. And oh, well, now I can sort of sit down and paint. I'm out of practice though. Okay, so now we're going to get to the learn the music part, and this is where we spent most of our time together, is learning music. And a lot of you read music, so you can learn music by reading something, and playing it from there, and go down the path of learning the chords, learning the circle of fifths, learning the modes, learning all these things, how they go together, and playing from that, and playing by ear. So we spend a lot of time here in the play shops doing that, and we'll do a little bit of that tonight as well. And exercises. I highly recommend exercises. It doesn't matter which exercise book you use. I happen to love Deborah Freeu's exercise book. As you know, I use it. I talk about it a lot. That should go on the list for tonight's play shop. Is Deborah Freeu. I hope I've sold 100 books for her because I keep recommending that book. And the reason I recommend it is that once you learn the exercises, you can spend more time on forgetting the exercises and just focusing on the sound they make, the hand shapes you get out of them, and how you might play with them to make them into something else. And I'll give you an example of that in just a second. But I really highly recommend that you get your exercise books and play with them and work with them as sources of improvisation. Those patterns can be sources of improvisation. So let's just do I'll do a very simple one. I'm going to try my other camera again, see if it'll work. Yep. Will it come back? Yes. Yay! Ooh, I'm so excited. Okay. So I'm going to do a very simple, I'm going to turn this up this way just a little bit. There we go. I think that's a bit better. Okay. All right. So I'm playing in thirds and seconds. So here's a third. Oh, Diane asked everyone, the harp is resting on your left knee? No, right knee. Yeah, right knee. Yeah. So I'm doing a third up, C to E, and then down a second, then up a third, down a second, up a third. Like that. And I recommend doing it with both hands, although I end up using these patterns much more in my right hand. And then the downward pattern. And the only reason I know that is because I've played that pattern for, I don't know, 15 years. So then if I want to take this pattern and put it into an improvisation, I could do in the left hand, I'm doing fifths. And then backwards. Oh, I think I did that. I think it's this. Let's see. I'm not exactly sure what I did because I've forgotten. And I'm letting my fingers. Yeah. So I'm moving up in the left hand. And in the right hand, I'm going down. So it's going. Okay. So I want to give a shout out to Chris Caswell, who has passed away now, but he gave me some wonderful exercises as well, um, that are similar to this, and I'll show you those in a second. But this is how I can do this is because I've been practicing these exercises for so long. Okay, so then because as you know, I like to work in 3/4 and 6/8. I could do, oops. So I'm still doing, this exercise. So here I'm doing it in like 4/4, 2/4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 3 and 4 and. But if I'm doing it, just putting emphasis on the different beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still doing this same exercise, so this is still worth doing. But now I'm doing it as triplets, emphasizing the different notes. So starting off by emphasizing the E, and then emphasizing the B. Does that make sense? What I'm doing with the triplets? Oops. I have to do something different with my left hand. So I was experimenting there, which is this is the part of the art of forgetting. Is, yeah, you've learned the instrument, you've learned some different exercises, and now you want to just put them together. Now you can come back to the kitchen. I'm going to come back to my other camera for a second. Now you can come back to the kitchen and start cooking. Now, does it mean everything's going to come out tasty? Maybe. But be prepared for something to be too spicy or kind of bland or too much flour or something, and be okay with that. Because in this case, you don't have to throw it out. It just dissipates into the air, and it goes on to, you can go on to the next thing. So the thing about forgetting that I wanted to say is that once you have the first step, it's not just the art of forgetting. It's a little bit of a teaser to get you to come tonight, but that's first, it's the art of internalization. Taking all of this in and then letting it all cook around inside of you and come out in, what's the word I want? An unintellectual kind of way. It's not the right word, but I'm not quite sure what the right word is that I'm looking for yet. So written music is, think about it music. You got to read it, you got to process it, you got to play it. Eventually you can memorize it and make it your own, which is something my teacher used to say to me, make it your own, make it your own. And I think what she meant was learn it well enough that you can get off the page so that you can play it from a forgetting place rather than a thinky place. Oh, what does that right note? What are people going to think? What note am I starting on in my left hand? I am starting on a C here. This thing, the triplet thing. Mary, is that what you're asking about?
When both the left and the right were low, the right hand
Oh,
started on a C. Was the left hand on the C as well?
yeah.
It seemed like it was closer together.
Oh, let me put the camera back on so we can see, because we can do that now. Okay. So I was doing. So I'm doing. And here I'm doing C, G. So did that answer the question?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, cool, cool. All right. So let's see. I have to confess, I'm not good at the triplets going upwards. But if I wanted to get better at them, I practice them more than I do. So I want to show this same idea in action a little bit more. So we've talked in the past about the Greensleeves chord progression, which is an A minor, G, F, E minor, A minor. So I'm going to do this thing. But I'm starting on an A because the Greensleeve starts on an A minor. Oops, let's try that again. I'm not sticking strictly to that pattern. I'm mixing it up just a little bit. But this is the forgetting part. Oops. In the left hand, I'm playing triads. What note am I starting on the left hand? I'm starting on an A in the upper part, up here. So now that leads me to something we've talked about along the way as well, is the idea of target notes. So now I'm getting like deeper into the knowledge that I've taken in, knowledge I've taken in, and going into the just sit down and play piece of it. So let me talk about that a little bit too. So I know this chord progression because I played it forever, and I hope you will too. It's just so useful. There's an F chord, E minor, okay? So that's all I'm doing in the left hand. You can make the left hand fancier. You can use different versions of those chords. You can use different inversions of those chords. You can do a 1-5-8 of that. But I'm just going to use triads for now. And I will say that the sit down and play part of the sit down and play is making some decisions about what you're going to do, and sticking to them. Yeah, thank you. Green sleeve chord progression there. Mary's got it in the notes. Okay, and the right hand, now I'm going to talk about target notes. So target notes are really just chord tones that land on certain beats, that land on the strong beats. So starting with a chord tone and ending with a chord tone is the target. The in-between notes are passing tones, and they're useful and interesting, but they don't always work to like make things package up neatly and finish nicely. But they're really good for their spices. Like you would not make an entire dinner out of chili spice, but you might just throw on a little bit of it to make the meal more interesting. Okay, so I'm starting on the chord tone here of the A minor chord. But I could easily start on the E of the same chord. I'm just not doing it because my hands are going to quickly run into each other right here. So I want to start up higher. But I could start up here. And I could start on the C. The C would work just as well as a chord tone. Now when I go to the G chord, now I'm up here, I picked the B. Back to knowing your harp, this string on this harp, no matter how many times I change it, it sounds dead. It sounds dead because there's probably a knot in the soundboard itself, and I will not be able to fix that. It's just, I just have to live with it sounding kind of eh. But okay. So now I'm on the F chord, and I've chosen the C here as my start note, target note. There's the now I'm picking the E here as to go with the E minor chord just because my thumb happened to be close to it. And I'm ending up back on this E on beat 1. Now, I'll pass along something that Deborah Henson Conant taught me, which is that if you pick a passing tone and you don't like how it sounds, you are one string away from the right string. So you either move down one or up one and you're good. So I got down here and I'm like, I'm on an E minor chord with an F natural here. Oh, what am I going to do? I'm not going to panic. I'm either going to go down to the E or I'm going to go up to the G. Both work. So how do I know all of that? This is one of the things that I'm going to come back to my camera here. So how do I know that, and how do I share that with you and make it something that you can have? Because I want you to be able to do it too. I want you to be empowered and be confident in your exploration. I don't want to say it this way, but I'll say it this way. I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be excited and like an astronaut of the harp. That you're gonna go to the Star Trek of the harp, brave new worlds, try new things. But the way to know how to try things is to try what other people have tried, and then go one step further, and then trust that nothing you do on here is going to hurt you or hurt the harp or hurt anybody. You're by yourself. most of us are. We're by ourselves in our houses, in our rooms. There's no teacher looming over you, saying, stop, do that, right? We're all too old for that. And really, who wants a teacher like that anyway? I want to encourage you to be able to do that. So when I think about, I'll finish off by saying things that, okay, small s should's not my favorite word either, but small s should, things you should think about internalizing are chord progressions. You should think about, so where can you find chord progressions? You can find chord progressions in lead sheets. And one of my favorites, I did set this aside so we could be ready for this, is this book. Sue Raymond's book, Making Music for the Folk Harp. It's very manageable. I have used this book alone for background music gigs. I just take this and that's all I need. In the book, let's take a one that you will know. Oh, well, here's Greensleeves. Okay, I have all my notes written in here, but you can see. She's got the chord progression up here. Here's the A minor, here's the G, here's the F, there's the E minor, A minor, G. This is a very old book that when I was still figuring out fingering and stuff like that, and I used to write my fingering in for everything. And so that's what that is. But the thing I love about this book is at the beginning, she has a library of left-hand accompaniments that you can use to build your own songs. I love this book. Love you, Sue. It's a wonderful book. But this is a source of chord progressions. But you can also, any guitar music always has chords. They might have the guitar fingering, you don't need that, but you can have the chords there and play with the chords. So learn your chord progressions. Then probably at some point I need to do a class on this thing, the chord wheel. I highly recommend you get this. This is also not a giant book. This is like 12 pages long, but so super helpful, and it has the modes in here. It has modes in here. But what I love about this, and you can get the electronic version, but I recommend you get the paper version because it's got this thingy on the front. Mine's yellow. I've had it so long. But what I love about it is in this black outlined area, it shows you all the chords that are native in the key. And it shows you the chord number. So C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, so forth. And it also shows you which are the major chords, which are the minor chords, and the diminished chord, the 7th chord here, for any key. And this is why I do them by number, by the way, because it matches this. And when you go to the key of G, here you've got all the chords. Here's the F sharp in here. If you're going to go in the key of F, here's the B flat that is in the F and the chords. So if you want to play in other keys, but the numbers remain the same. The numbers remain the same. This thing is magic. I did not understand the chord wheel when I first started working in music, and the more I explore it, the more I like it. It's a magical tool, wonderful tool. Okay, so let's talk about the forgetting piece just a little bit more, and then we'll wrap up. So when I'm improvising, let's say I am recording a podcast for my podcast, which is Relaxing Harp Music. It's on Amazon and iHeartRadio and Apple and just about everywhere except Spotify. That's a whole story into why it's not on Spotify, but it's all kinds of other places. So I'm going to record something for that. And I sit down and I literally sit down and play something. I rarely know what I'm going to play until I sit down. But what I do, and I haven't talked about this piece yet, and I think it's a whole different class, is to what I'm feeling in the moment. Because everything I've been talking about up to this point is giving you the tools to express your feeling. Because that's what music is. It's an auditory expression of emotion. And so I sit and I say, okay, what am I feeling? Sometimes I have a theme, like Mother's Day is coming up. I want to do something for mothers, or Valentine's Day is coming up. I want to do something for Valentine's Day. But sometimes it's just what I'm feeling in the moment. So I take a few minutes and say, okay, how am I feeling right now? And then I ask myself, because I'm playing the harp in the modes of like, what mode matches that feeling that I have right now? And that's where I start. And I try not to overthink it too much. Just like, and I'll play around a little bit before I turn the record button on, just to see, is it really a thing? So let me do that right now for you. I'm going to go back to my camera so you can see what's going on. Yep, yay! Oh, I'm so glad this is working to go back and forth. So I asked myself just now, like, how am I feeling? And what popped into my head was Lydian. I don't play a lot in Lydian normally, but usually your first instinct is the best one. First answer is the right one. So I'm like, okay, what is that going to mean? That's going to mean start on an F. I will often play through the scale, so I get it in my ear, like, oh, what is it? And what I'm noticing as I'm doing this, as I'm listening, I'm like, oh, that's got that B natural in there. Because normally an F scale would have a B flat in it. An Ionian scale would have a B flat. Okay. So I'm like, oh, I really like that B flat for this Lydian thing. So, I'm sorry, B natural. So I'm going to make sure that I incorporate that somehow. I also start very slowly, and I'm really listening deeply to what I'm doing to see what the strings are telling me to do. Target note there. So I've got the B is not a chord tone, but I feel like it's important. And I haven't really found a rhythm yet to it. I'm just listening. I'm looking in my pantry. Like, maybe tonight I feel like, pasta Alfredo or something, but I'm looking around. And I'm going to do this thing that we've been working with tonight. Okay. It's a little so here's what I'm noticing. If I articulate this a little bit, it's a little unsettled. It's kind of light and airy. It doesn't really land. It's not coming back to, because of this B natural in here. Okay. But I really like it. It's really cool. So now I'm doing, in the right hand, I'm doing this, and then coming back to the target note. So I'm using this pattern, this Deborah for You pattern, and then coming back to this target note. I'm like, oh, I really like that. So I don't know. Pay attention to what images come up as music plays for you. One of them is like, for whatever reason, Star Trek, Spock, the Vulcan Queen when he goes home to do some Vulcan-y things. Makes me think of her for some reason. And then if now if I set a timer, like I recommend you do, then I'm going to figure out it's going to move to something else at some point, but I don't know what that is just yet. So that's ET's theme song uses Lydian. Aha! Oh, good. All right. I love having all these. Everybody knows these wonderful things about this. So, okay, wait. There was a question. Which video talks about target notes? Oh, we are in the process of cataloging a bunch of my videos, so come back with that question shortly. I talk about it off and on in several videos, and I can do one specifically on that. I take requests. I can do one on target. Yeah, the more questions you ask me, the easier it is for me to come up with topics to talk about. So, okay. I want to wrap things up by asking if there are any questions. And was this helpful tonight?
You had some really good resources, Simber. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, thank you, Diane. Yeah, you're welcome. I love the making music for folk harp. I love in fact, go over them again. So making music for folk harp, Sue Raymond, you can get this all over the place. Lots of places have it. You can buy it from Amazon, but you can also buy it from harp stores and support them. This, I think, is available. This is definitely available on Amazon, but it's also probably available other places as well if you want to support them. And check your library for this, The Art of Learning, Josh. You probably can pick that up. This is published in, I'll tell you, 2007. And he's got a quote from Robert Pirsig, who wrote Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, if you know that book. So that's another good one, too. So there you go. Art of Learning. Internalize and then express. It's a breathing, isn't it? Right? Breathing in. Breathe in all that wonderful material, and then breathing out all of that you brought in. Second camera works. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, that was your suggestion, Joyce. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. It seems.
Our book, what's the name of it? The exercise book you mentioned?
Deborah for You. Yeah. It's agility and speed.
Thank you.
It's got a yellow cover. It's kind of, if you are familiar with Hanon exercises for the piano, it's like that. It's kind of built on Hanon exercises. So, it was Mary's idea? Oh, thank you, Mary, for the brilliant idea. I have a couple of muses who are helping me improve things, and I appreciate your ideas. So, all right, good for now. Our next one is going to be in 2 weeks on May 13th. And gosh, let's make it about target notes. Let's talk target notes by special request.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. If you, as always, if you have questions in between, feel free to reach out to me. Oh, Mary, you have a question? You raise your hand.
Not so much a question, but I found, you know how you said it's good to play chord tones, is a good way to start in the right hand. And, I find that if I place my triad there, then I'm just playing either one of those three notes. And for variety, it's nice to just place one of the inversions. So like the first inversion or the second inversion, aiming for my thumb on my second. And that's a nice way to get, a little bit of variation and still nail those chord tones. So the inversions help.
Yes. Yes. You're singing my song. I love that. I love inversions. They're just so powerful, so useful. So yeah, good. All right. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate you so much. Look for some more improvements coming soon, some new things that I'm going to be trying. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Candace. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, David. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Rose.
See you soon.